It's time for From the Shortgrass, presented by UAMS Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine with Trey, a golf podcast for those who love golf, struggle with golf, and just like to enjoy the outdoors and fellowship with friends, all while chasing a ball around, trying to put it in a 4 1/4 inch diameter hole. From the Shortgrass is presented by UAMS Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, and brought to you by Stevens Incorporated, an independent financial services firm with the freedom to focus on what matters most. By Beechwood Hospitality, we partner with you to deliver high-yield results by managing, developing, and investing in top-quality hospitality assets. And now, from the Shortgrass, here's your host, Trey.
Welcome to another edition of From the Shortgrass, presented by UAMS Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. I am your host, Trey. Congratulations to the United States Walker Cup team, who won the Walker Cup 17-9 over Great Britain and Ireland at Cypress Point. What a fantastic setting for the Walker Cup. It was fun to watch amateur golf over the weekend, and the United States has won its 5th Walker Cup in a row. They own a 49-1 overall mark since the Walker Cup began. UAMS Ortho Now is now open at the Orthopedic and Spine Hospital at UAMS Health. If you have an orthopedic injury, sports, work, or anything else, walk in and see the best in orthopedic care. No appointment is needed. Ortho Now, open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., Saturday 8 to noon, conveniently located at the Orthopedic and Spine Hospital at UAMS Health. For more information, call 501-686-TOSH. That's 501-686-8674. I'm back with Tom Pashley, President of Pinehurst, after the break. Stay with us.
The next time you travel to El Dorado and need overnight accommodations, the Haywood Hotel is where you need to stay. The Haywood El Dorado Tapestry Collection by Hilton is a great place to stay if you're in South Arkansas, listening to live music or playing the challenging Mystic Creek Golf Club. Take time and relax in their bar for a drink before going out on the town for dinner. The Haywood, 210 South Washington, right in the heart of downtown El Dorado. Search the Haywood El Dorado on the web or call 800-293-0718 for reservations. The Haywood, a Beechwood hospitality property.
Strength is measured not by the number of accounts. Strength is placing value on relationships. It's having the vision and the guts to invest in growth. It's the commitment to responsibly manage your money. At Stevens, we believe that our strengths build success, not only for us, but for our clients. Stevens, member NYSE, SIPC.
I'm Dr. Lowry Barnes. When it comes to orthopedic care, there's no place like the Orthopedic and Spine Hospital at UAMS Health. We built this hospital just for you, with state-of-the-art surgical suites, advanced technology, and the state's largest group of fellowship-trained orthopedic surgeons. It's the best place in Arkansas to get you moving again. And if you need urgent orthopedic care, UAMS Ortho Now is right here for you at the Orthopedic and Spine Hospital at UAMS Health, where motion lives and service leads.
Welcome back to this edition of From the Shortgrass, presented by UAMS Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. I'm your host, Trey. Tom Pashley is the president of Pinehurst Resort and Country Club, and I recently traveled to Pinehurst to play number 2, number 10, number 8, the Cradle, and number 1. I had a chance to sit down with Tom Pashley, and I was able to get a couple of episodes of From the Shortgrass with Tom. Now, you might think of Pinehurst Resort and the U.S. Opens, but it wasn't that long ago that Pinehurst Resort was in bankruptcy. A little over 40 years ago, Bob Dedman Sr. brought the resort out of bankruptcy, and the first 2 decades were spent restoring what was already there and reacquiring parts of the resort, said his son, Bob Dedman Jr. I sat down with Tom Pashley to get a couple of episodes of From the Shortgrass to talk about Pinehurst and the fact that it is out of bankruptcy now and doing extremely well, and they're adding new courses to it. A new course was opened last year, and another one is on the way. You'll hear about those in episode 2. But first, episode 1 of my sit-down with Tom Pashley. On the tee, the president of Pinehurst, Tom Pashley. Tom, thanks for joining me on this edition of From the Short Grass. So do you remember the first time you ever picked up a golf club and just fell in love with this game?
I don't remember the exact moment, but I remember I was 10 years old and my parents didn't play golf, but we had a set of clubs, leather-wrapped grips in the storage room in the garage, and my brother and I, at some point when I was 10 and he's 12, decided that we were ready to swing those clubs in the backyard. I grew up in Augusta, Georgia, so it was probably spring would be my guess. Maybe we had seen some golf being played in the area, and so I just remember being 10, my brother being 12, and then it became something that he and I did still all of our lives. And when you get a brother who's 2 years older, it's fun to try to beat him. I just wanted to beat him in whatever we did. So golf became the thing where we could compete head to head. We probably are 50-50, in our overall record. But it was in Augusta when I was 10 years old.
I'm sure you remember the first time you beat him.
I don't.
Oh, okay.
I actually don't. So no, but. It's funny. My son is 19 years old, and we just dropped him off in college on Wednesday, and he beat me for the first time in June.
Oh,
and so I've had to deal with that, and it happened at Pinehurst number 10. And I know you're going to be playing there soon. And now every time I go out to number 10, they always say, "Has your son? Has he beaten you again?" I was like, "This is a baggage that I don't need."
Right. Being here though, Tom. It takes a while to get to the point where you are, president of Pinehurst. But let's go back. High school golf, did you play there? Did you play on the high school golf team?
No, I went to a magnet school, and it's a long story, but they didn't have a golf team. We had a tennis team. I played on tennis team, but I grew up playing the municipal courses. Our memory was when we were teenagers that our parents would drop us off. In Augusta, you had Forest Hills, which is a Donald Ross Muni, and then the Cabbage Patch. And so we would bounce between those two courses and just play with friends, but never really played competitive golf.
And now I believe Fred Ridley, the chairman of Augusta National, has announced that the patch is coming back. The Masters Tournament and Augusta National Golf Club are really going to renovate that place.
They're going big. Tiger's involved in a facility there as well. There's a First Tee facility there. I went to the Masters this year, and I wanted to drive by and see the old patch one last time, but they had already begun, so they had already started turning it over. But yeah, I spent a lot of time playing those municipal courses. But competitive golf is a grind. There's part of me that's kind of glad I never had to stress over 4-footers. That kept the game real fun. I never got burnt out, if you will.
So having a career with the game of golf, how did you get from high school, college, to where you are now, president of Pinehurst?
So at college, I went to the University of Georgia, and they had a great golf course there. And so I remember my first summer. It might have been the summer of my junior year. I was going to take a couple classes, and I was an accounting major, and I was going to try to take a couple hard classes that summer. So I took income tax and one other. And income tax was really hard, so I dropped it and joined the golf course. and I played a bunch of golf my junior summer at University of Georgia. Anyhow, I went on to a career in accounting for 3 years in Atlanta. Was a CPA with Deloitte & Touche, but didn't love that. So I went to business school. I went to Duke's Business School, the Fuqua School of Business. And it was there where I began kind of doing some soul searching about what is it I want to do with the rest of my life. And golf entered my mind as something that I was passionate about. And so while I was there, I sent a letter to the men's golf coach, Rod Myers, and I said, I'm going to be at Duke for one more year. If there was anything I could do to help you with the team, I want to get involved in golf. And he allowed me to become his graduate assistant golf coach. Didn't work with anybody on swings, but helped him with some recruiting. And anyhow, long story short, he knew the president of Pinehurst back in 1996 and introduced me to him. I came here and interviewed and have now been here 29 years.
Wow. And I don't think you want to leave, do you?
No, it's anywhere else is reality now. When I joined in 96, we were getting ready for the 1999 U.S. Open. I thought, wouldn't that be special to be able to be part of a U.S. Open? And probably after that 99 U.S. Open, I'll move back to Atlanta, go back and get a real job, and, started to love it here. People were coming to visit. started to raise a family here. It's a wonderful place, and it's so much fun because you can stay here for a year and the world of golf passes through. So even though we're semi-remote here in the heart of North Carolina, the world of golf passes through Pinehurst and does now more so than ever. So you get to stay here and see everybody that's involved in the game.
Let's go to that 99 U.S. Open. Obviously, Payne Stewart winning the way he did, but also beating Phil Mickelson, who at the time had a pager with him, not a cell phone, a pager with him that his wife was very close to delivering their first child, I believe. And if at any time she went into labor, he said, if that pager goes off, I'm out of here. It never went off. Payne Stewart sinks the par putt on 18 to win the U.S. Open, and he's got Phil by the ears basically with both of his hands and said, you're about to be a father. Just how touching was that moment from someone that helped put that event on? Yeah,
great history lesson you just gave right there, because Phil was standing there watching him putt. He had his arms crossed. We've looked at the video a million times, and it was like Phil knew it was going in, because Phil started to walk towards Payne before the putt ever went in, and he may have already had his hat off, I believe. And so he cradled. Payne cradled Phil's face in his hands, and he said, "It's not." I do the lip reading. It was like, "It's nothing like being a father." I think he was trying to console Phil a little bit in that moment. It was so special. I was standing behind the 18th green there with a great friend of mine, and it was hard to breathe. I mean, to just be present, it was so nerve-wracking. So I can't imagine the way he was able to calm his nerves and stroke that putt in. If he missed, we were all disappointed because it was going to be an 18-hole playoff, and we figured he was not going to make that putt, and we'd be working the next day. And what an ordeal that is. Everybody's trying to come to the crescendo on Sunday and do an 18-hole playoff on Monday. Nobody wanted to do, and so what a magical putt, and the way it tragically played out. And to now have that memory seared in our minds forever with the statue and all the emotion that comes with it, it's amazing. There must have been, 15,000 people around the green at that moment, but I feel like I've met 50,000 people who said they were here.
Right.
And they all have this special passion and connection with Payne for some reason, because he had transformed his life and had an edge when he was younger, but he matured and had his faith at the end. And so we were spoiled by having him as our first U.S. Open champion for sure.
Well, unfortunately, I was not here. I was watching on TV, but I feel like I was there. Mm-hmm. That's how good the broadcast was.
Yeah, you're right. And the church bells were going off, and those bells go off still. And to think, and I'm not trying to fast forward to it, but we got a great bookend. And so the family that owns Pinehurst, the Dedman family, are from Dallas, Texas, and they're SMU grads and big SMU supporters. And so when Payne won, Robert Dedman Sr., who was the owner at the time, felt that connection with Payne. He knew him really well. And then with Bryson winning on 18, he's friends with Bob Dedman Jr., who now is the owner of Pinehurst and the Dedman family. And so it felt like there was some fate happening there. And how lucky are we, to have it come down to the last hole, to be so dramatic. And again, that Payne putt is a once in a million opportunity, and to get two of those iconic moments to happen on that 18th green is incredible.
And you have put a plaque out near the bunker where Bryson hit his shot on 18. So close to the hole after it, where it ended up. He came here after the Masters this last year for the dedication of that, after he just lost potentially a green jacket.
Correct. I mean, and it's class act is the first thing that I think of. What a class act, because it had been scheduled months in advance. You had no idea if he would be in contention or if he'd missed the cut at the Masters, and he had agreed to come here and do it that Monday after. The plaque is engraved. The phrase that he said was, "It was the shot of my life," and so that's there in bold, 55-yard shot. And what a tribute to Bryson that he came the Monday after. And I think it was a roller coaster emotionally for him, because he was still smarting from not winning the Masters. But he came here, and there were probably 700 fans that were surrounding the 18th green. Everybody was trying to get into the press conference, and he was touched emotionally and got a little emotional thinking about his father. And he tried to repeat the shot, by the way. He dropped maybe 4 or 5 balls in there. Not one of them came anywhere within 10 feet, much less probably the 4 feet. That is what he hit it to when it mattered.
So it was miraculous, basically, I guess, when he hit it under all of that pressure. I mean, talk about he didn't have much pressure to try and recreate it, but trying to win a U.S. Open, pressure.
Yeah, and I mean, it just, you think, you may forget that he was underneath a magnolia tree trying to, he drove it up to like 70 yards from the green. He bombed it, but he got it.
He was so far left, though.
Yeah, and so then he had a root in the way, and he had a branch hanging down, and so he scraped one out there to hit it in the bunker. And when it went in the bunker, I thought, no chance. Again, playoff. Now I'm trying to remember, what's the U.S. Open playoff now? It's not 18 holes.
It's not
anymore.
18 holes.
I think it's 2 holes. I think it's 2 holes. But yeah, he's so clutch. And obviously Rory had missed a pretty short putt, but Rory's putt on 18 was a downhill, felt like a 2-cup breaker that could sneak away from him if he was a little too bold with it. So I think he had to be cautious because I think Rory was still thinking playoff.
I think the putt on 16 for Rory was a little easier, and the caddies that I had when I played number 2 said the same thing. The putt on 16 for Rory, he just pulled it.
Right.
That was on him. The putt on 18, you take any 10 handicapper, and they might not make it from what Rory had.
Right. And it's just thinking about that, you see people come up 18 now, and on Sundays, most Sundays, we'll put that whole location in the back right, which is the Bryson location and the Payne location. And now there's 2 memorable putts that you can try. Mm-hmm. You can try to make Payne's, 15, 18-footer, or you can try to make Rory's slippery 4-footer. It's neat to watch.
While we're talking U.S. Open golf, Pinehurst number 2 has been announced as the first anchor site by the United States Golf Association. And so you guys are going to host the Open in 29. It's going to be right back here at Pinehurst.
Absolutely. And in 29, it's not only the U.S. Open, it's the Women's Open as well. We're going back to back.
Back to the double.
Just like we did in 2014, which was the first ever. So, yeah, the anchor site brings the U.S. Open back in 29, and then it's every 6 years. So 35, 41, 47. It's amazing to think, that far in advance. But I think that was another thing that was really gratifying to us was the U.S. Open ending the way it did with Bryson and Rory and the titans of the game. I think validates why, bringing the U.S. Open back here every 5, 6, 7 years is great because people can begin to get some familiarity. You remember those shots. And so, being the first anchor site, there's 2 others now, Pebble Beach and Oakmont are anchor sites. And again, credit to the USGA for the strategy there. What it's allowed us to do is think more long-term about some things that we can do that will make the championship better for the players, for the volunteers, for the spectators. If it's only coming once every 10 or 12 years, you kind of just go with the temporary. You make it work, but you can't really make some true investments. But now that we know it's every 6 years, they did some innovative things at Oakmont. We've done some innovative things here that make the experience better for everybody.
I think in 29, we'll probably see that Sunday hole location back right. It's going to be the Payne Bryson hole while the U.S. Open is here until maybe something else happens somewhere on the course that's a dramatic shot that could be a game changer. Do you think?
Oh, I think that is the Sunday hole location in perpetuity for U.S. Open championships. And I don't know if they'll put it there for the Women's Open. Maybe that's an opportunity for something else to happen that's pretty special. That'd be neat if you had a Sunday women's pin and a Sunday men's pin. But no, I think it's going to be there.
Having both of those championships in back-to-back weeks, obviously you have to rely on your maintenance staff to get this place in tip-top shape before the first go of a championship. You've got a good one here, don't you?
We do, and in 2014 when we did the back-to-backs, we had bent grass greens out there, and so bent grass greens in August or in June. That's a cool season grass. It's starting to get stressed, and there was a lot of concern that the bent might not be able to last 2 weeks under championship conditions. We converted them to Bermuda grass now, and so I think the superintendents rest a little easier because Bermuda grass loves the heat. It can take the stress. The other unique thing about Pinehurst number 2 is we're not having to change fairway widths. We're not growing in rough and growing up rough. The course is the same course that you just played. It doesn't take a lot of tweaking. You get the greens firmer, faster, but that's about it. So we like to say, this is one of the places you can come play as close to the U.S. Open conditions as it is ever, because we don't have to do a lot of tweaking to get it ready.
I love firm and fast greens, but I don't see how some of them can be played any faster than what I played.
Yeah, for normal resort play, 10 on the stimp meter is plenty for those greens, because they look kind of big to the eye, these crown Donald Ross masterpieces, but when you actually see the cuppable areas, the greens get real small real fast. And it's neat to look at these heat maps is the way they do it. And they can show you at a 10.5 on the stimp, you have this much usable green. At 13, the greens get really, really small. Yeah.
I've heard it described as you take a cereal bowl, turn it upside down, and that's what you're trying to hit on. After playing number 2, I would have to agree.
I've heard a Volkswagen Beetle. The hood of a Beetle or something like that.
But that's what makes the game fun, right?
Yeah, it's unique. It is unique. It's not something that you see many other places. And as much as it is about the crown greens, it's also about the fall-offs around the greens and the surrounds and the fact that we're sandy soil versus, you go to places that have clay and you can't have those hollows because after a rainstorm, they're going to be a puddle for a few days. And so Ross came here and he could really carve out some really cool green surrounds, and that's where you get all these different ways to play a shot. A lot of courses, you just take out your 56 degree around the green and you wedge it on. Here, you have to decide, should I putt? Should I hit an 8-iron? Should I try to get it in the air and hit a lob shot? And so there's so many different ways to play around those crown greens. And I found the putter, the older I get, the margin of error is much lower if I just pull out my flat stick.
Well, when Martin Keimer won in 14, he putted. He never chipped from off the green and putted, and he won.
It stress tested under Keimer's theory there, yeah. And Bryson, I can't remember if he hit a lot of wedges around the greens and had that great touch. I remember a great phrase, there was a lot of wiregrass. There's a lot of wiregrass around the. If you miss the fairways on number 2, you're going to be in wiregrass. But Bryson found himself in a lot of that wiregrass area, but he found 4-leaf clovers, was what they said every time. He somehow managed to get clean lies and was able to advance the ball.
The luck.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to get a little bit of luck in a golf game, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it's fun that during a U.S. Open on Pinehurst number 2, if you miss the fairway, your walk from tee to the ball is filled with maybe I got a good lie, maybe I didn't. If you're playing a traditional U.S. Open venue, you miss the fairway by a foot, you know what you've got. But there is that anticipation. And right now, for resort play, I would say it's 60% of the time you're going to be okay. But during the U.S. Open, I think it was more like 20% of the time you're going to be okay, and Bryson just got lucky.
They put a premium on hitting the fairway, and I definitely saw that playing number 2. When the USGA comes to town, and obviously they have their museum and their USGA experience on property here in Pinehurst, the World Golf Hall of Fame Museum, pardon me, what does it take to put on a championship of that caliber from Pinehurst's perspective?
It's a tremendous undertaking, and we're blessed to have a wonderful community with volunteers. It takes about 5,000 volunteers. Back when the first U.S. Open was held here, Trey, there were a lot of questions. Pinehurst is in the middle of nowhere. Is the infrastructure there? Are the roads going to work? Is there going to be enough corporate support? Will there be enough volunteer support? And I like to say we turned all those question marks into exclamation points. That in each category, Pinehurst showed up. Number 2 held up. Volunteers were there. Corporate North Carolina showed up, and so. I think we earned our spot in 99. In 05, we validated it, and now it is a tremendous undertaking, but we've got a template. It changes a little bit each year, but now we've got a core team that's been involved with it, and we have the community who's been involved with it where, again, the anchor site strategy makes sense because you come back more frequently, and it's less planning, less moving parts. You can go back to your handbook from 6 years ago, and it's still valid. So it is a tremendous undertaking, but because of our resources that we have in this community, it goes pretty smoothly.
One thing I noticed while playing number 2 was there's not a lot of place for growth to extend holes unless you take down some trees and There are places where you can go back a little bit to lengthen it. But I think the USGA, obviously when the Open is here in 29, they would have already rolled back the golf ball then. This course could play totally different, Tom, in 29 than what it did last year in 24.
You're right. The landlocked to a certain extent. There's probably, although I think if you tipped it out at the last U.S. Open, it might have been playing 7,500 yards, but they moved tees forward so you can try a drivable par 4, so it never played that long. I remember being out there during the Core Crenshaw restoration of Pinehurst No. 2 in 2010, and I was just so tickled to be near Ben Crenshaw. And I remember Mr. Crenshaw said, these greens will always defend themselves. And so length certainly matters, but if you can get the greens firm, and Mother Nature has a lot to do with that if you get dry weather, but those unique crown greens are not very receptive if you're not hitting a precise approach shot. So I think length matters at a lot of places. I think it matters a little less here.
Yeah, you don't want to be taking a long iron into these greens, though.
No.
You want a short iron in your hand.
Absolutely.
Because they are defensive. Pinehurst No. 2 is just one of the courses here in the village of Pinehurst. Let's discuss some of the others. Obviously, number 10 is the newest of the courses, walking only, and I hear it is fantastic.
We were just talking about the test of number 2, where you've got 18 greens that are kind of repelling you at every opportunity. Number 10 is a wonderful contrast to that. It is 4 miles down the road, which is a short little distance, and it feels like you've gone 50 miles. You're out in the middle of the woods. It's neat to be here at the main clubhouse where we have courses 1 through 5. But there's a lot of activity, and you get out there, and it's just super quiet, very peaceful. It's a Tom Doak golf course that opened in April of 2024, and wide fairways. Golfers like that, you're not going to have to worry about losing many golf balls, but really, really interesting green complexes, and way more elevation change than we have on most of our other courses. There we have maybe 90 feet of elevation change. You might get 40 feet on Pinehurst No. 2. So 10 has been very well received. It debuted in Golf Magazine's Top 100, and we're just now building out the clubhouse and the rest of the infrastructure. It's a wonderful walk. That elevation change, will get you. When you're out there, you'll have to report back to me. But I love the green complexes because there's portions of 8 or 9 of the greens where there's almost a punch bowl effect, and it depends on where the whole location is, but you just have a lot more fun, a lot more variety of ways you can play shots into those greens. Whereas number 2, there's kind of one option: get it to stop on the surface, or else it's going to feed off.
We're going to have to stop right there with Tom Pashley, president of Pinehurst. More coming in our next episode of From the Shortgrass, presented by UAMS Health, Orthopedics, and Sports Medicine. Beechwood Hospitality, Matthew Allen and Blair Allen. They know how to manage hotel properties. If you're in Northwest Arkansas, Northeast Arkansas, Southeast Arkansas, anywhere in the state of Arkansas, even in Oklahoma and up in Kansas City, make sure you stay at a Beechwood Hospitality hotel. I'm back to wrap it up after this. Stay with us.
I'm Dr. Lowry Barnes. When it comes to orthopedic care, there's no place like the Orthopedic and Spine Hospital at UAMS Health. We built this hospital just for you, with state-of-the-art surgical suites, advanced technology, and the state's largest group of fellowship-trained orthopedic surgeons. It's the best place in Arkansas to get you moving again. And if you need urgent orthopedic care, UAMS Ortho Now is right here for you at the Orthopedic and Spine Hospital at UAMS Health, where motion lives and service leads.
From Central Arkansas to South Arkansas to Northeast Arkansas, across the state to Northwest Arkansas, you will find a Beechwood Hospitality property. From the Haywood in El Dorado to the Hilton Garden in Jonesboro, to the Doubletree in Bentonville and the Staybridge Suites just south of Baumwalker Stadium, Beechwood Hospitality has a room for you. Beechwood Hospitality is the leader in hotel property management in the state. Make sure you find a Beechwood Hospitality hotel for your next overnight stay.
Welcome back to this edition of From the Shortgrass, presented by UAMS Health, Orthopedics, and Sports Medicine. Hey, South Arkansas, the Epson Tour, the official qualifying tour of the LPGA Tour, is coming to South Arkansas and Mystic Creek Golf Club. You don't want to miss it. The El Dorado Shootout at Mystic Creek Golf Course, September 19th through the 21st. Make sure you get your tickets if you want to see professional women's golf. Remember, when you find your ball mark on the green, fix it and a couple of more. And I hope to see you sometime soon from the Shortgrass.
You have been listening to From the Shortgrass, presented by UAMS Health, Orthopedics, and Sports Medicine, a weekly podcast dedicated to the game of golf. This has been a presentation of the Buzz Radio Network in association with Majestic Cubby Productions.